Thank you. I wish I had a song to quote. I've got to come more prepared for that. But really, as I'd want to say to you, as we think about Veterans Day this week, we honor and are grateful for your service and your continued service in, like you said, this important mission that helps make our families and our communities whole again after a disaster that often takes away their priceless memories, pictures, their homes, all the little things that luckily, people want to keep their lives, but all those things that make a home in a community. So thank you for that. But I'd like to switch a little bit to talk about UASI. And so UASI, the Urban Area Security Initiative, it's a vital program for protecting people in Las Vegas, represent the state of Nevada. And so it helps protect Las Vegas, our critical infrastructure, and our tourism economy. UASI grants assist high-threat, high-density urban areas like Las Vegas in preventing, mitigating, responding to, and recovering from terrorist attacks, and FEMA oversees this program. The UASI program ensures that urban law enforcement departments have the resources they need to defend large metropolitan areas against terrorism. But the program needs reform in order to serve better densely populated tourist destinations like Las Vegas. Nevada is home to a year-round population of about 3 million people. But just in Clark County, in the Las Vegas area alone, we have nearly 50 million visitors a year. And so we host more than 20,000 conventions. So this really impacts our UASI-related needs. And so with this in mind, last year when I represented Nevada in the House of Representatives, I joined my Nevada colleagues in sending a letter to then DHS Secretary Nielsen about changing the UASI funding formula. I was pleased that one of the results of the letter is that FEMA incorporated visitor and special event data into its risk assessment profile. And so that profile determines the aid we see. So will you consider making changes to the risk assessment formula permanent so that visitor and special event data continue to be considered?
Yes, ma'am. And we're always looking at the formula because we want to make sure that we reflect current risk. And risk is dynamic and it changes over time. So we want to make sure that that grant is meeting the need when you need it. And so, you know, like you said, we added different criteria to the grant. We're also, this year, we're going to add another criteria to the grant. We're going to put back in chemical facilities as a weighted element of the formula. So we're always looking at it. That grant is ultimately approved and has eyes on from the DHS secretary. We have to go brief him or her about
right.
How that all falls out. So it gets the highest scrutiny to make sure that it's fair and it's consistent.
I want to ask about potentially one more change because I want to talk to you about disaggregating the qualifying assets. Right now, the Las Vegas Strip is clustered. It's considered one asset, even though there's more than 35 hotels along the Strip. 20 of the 30 largest hotels in the world are in the Las Vegas Valley, and a single property in Las Vegas at any one time can have over 70,000 employees and tourists. But DHS, you cluster all of these properties as one entity. You count them as only one single asset for the formula. So again, can you commit to coming to my office to talking about how we can de-aggregate this and look at our critical assets in a different way? We're not just one entity on the Las Vegas Boulevard. And needless to say, the McCarran Airport, if you've been to Las Vegas, sits right at the end of some of our largest hotels.
I'll absolutely commit to meeting with you and your staff. I'll have all my grant experts that specialize in this and formula. We'll come over and we'll hear you out and we'll.
I'll come take them on a tour up and down. And,
I'm sure they would love that.
They can see that. Well, I want to switch in my brief time left over to something that happens a little bit more in northern Nevada, which is wildfires. And so, of course, when we questioned the previous nominee, we talked about this a little bit. So in August of 2018, the South Sugarloaf fire scorched over 230,000 acres in northeastern Nevada. It prompted the evacuation of about 300 people. It threatened infrastructure as State Route 225, multiple power lines, cell towers, radio towers. It destroyed public and private lands. It affected our ranchers, our recreation, and our wildlife. And so, despite this devastation and despite my Nevada colleagues in the state fighting for funding, FEMA denied the state of Nevada's request for fire management assistance grant because the fire did not threaten such destruction that would constitute a major disaster. So again, we have to look at the current criteria that you use. We might need to be reevaluated as we have more and more critical wildfires to evaluate applications and grants that makes it so difficult for our rural communities. Just in Nevada, we all have them, that they receive funding, whether it's flooding, as we previously talked about, or wildfires. In rural areas, they don't have structures to destroy, but the land is what people live off of. So it's difficult to qualify. So can we talk about what you might think about helping our rural communities in flooding and wildfires?
Absolutely, ma'am. And just a little bit on the purpose of FMAGs, Fire Management Assistance Grants, and these are grants that we give to jurisdictions that have fires. And the purpose of it is really to make sure that the local or the state has enough capacity to deal with the fire so it does not turn into a major disaster. And when we consider, what qualify, and I'm not speaking exactly about
I
New York,
understand.
but just generally,
Yes.
we look at, what economic impact will it have? Will the impact from a fire create an economic impact that will result in a large federally declared disaster? That's generally one of the criteria we look at, but I'd be happy to discuss.
Maybe we can talk about scales. So it's either, so it's not all or nothing. Maybe there are scales or things that we can put in there. I know some of my friends in every other state with rural communities would appreciate it too.
ma'am.
Thank you. I yield back.